Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. In this video we're making part 1 of the Triptych mandalas. You see here the small mandala, this is part 1. And we'll actually be growing this into a medium and a large mandala as well in parts 2 and 3. But for part 1 it's just a small mandala. To make this mandala you need various colors of Scheepjes Katona yarn. The colors that I'm using for my samples, you can find them on my blog. The link is in the video description. Now, together with the Katona yarn, we're using a 3mm hook. This is to get nice and tight tension on these mandalas. And of course, you also need a ring. So the ring you have in here is a 15cm ring. Again, all supplies are available in the written pattern on my blog. So let's get started. I'll take you step by step through the rounds that make up part 1. I want to thank you for watching. I hope it's a useful video for you. Round 1 with the indicated color. Make a slip knot and pop this on your hook. I'm going to start by making a little ring, so chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll come back to the first chain and close here with a slip stitch. There we go. Now if you pull the ring open, it's quite a big hole, but that's on purpose because we're going to be making 20 trebles. Now first chain 2. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch, it's just to get you up. And now in the ring we're going to work 20 trebles. So that means yarn over twice. Pick up a loop and complete the stitch. So that's 3 times taking off 2 loops. That was the first treble. I'm going to do 20 of these. And it's quite a few stitches, so making a jump in the video in a moment. You can always replace the starting chain with an invisible join. Oh, sorry, not an invisible join, a magic ring. We're going to be closing this round with an invisible join. But so the starting chain and the ring that I made, you can replace that with a magic ring if you choose. For now, continue and work 20 trebles into the ring. And when you're all the way around, I'll show you how to do that invisible join. And this is the last stitch. So now I have 20 trebles here in the ring. Now to close this round we're going to do an invisible join. That means I'm going to cut my yarn. So cut your yarn and open up this loop. So you're going to pull the hook, pull your yarn through your stitch. Then this yarn tail, you're just going to pick up a needle. This yarn tail, going to thread this on your needle. Okay. Then the invisible join. You're going to actually create a new top, a new hat on top of the last, on this first stitch worked and connect it to the last stitch worked. So here you see the chain 2, so that's the first chain, the second chain, they don't count for anything. So this here, this is the first stitch. Now go to the second stitch with your needle and insert your needle as though you would work into that stitch. So this is the first one, this is the second, and this is as though you're going to work that stitch with your crochet hook. You insert your needle, pull through. Now come back to the last stitch worked, and that's this stitch here. And then insert your needle through the top of the stitch, kind of pointing backwards. So to the back of your work, insert your needle and kind of try to grab 1 or 2 loops here to the back, because that'll help you just to have this a bit more secure. So I'm just going to grab 1 or 2 more loops here to the back and pull your yarn through. And what you've now done, and they might be a little twisted, so just make them the front to the front and the back to the back. And these 2 loops now form the new stitch. So I'm just going to pull this tight. You can see how you're closing this ring. And just fashion this until the stitches to the left and the right and the center, that they all 3 have the same size. So that might mean that you're going to have to just pull these loops a little, and there you go. So that's the second stitch. This is the first stitch, with the one we made the invisible join on top, and that's stitch number 20. This is 20, and this is number 1, and that's number 2. And as you can see, it's truly an invisible join. I'm going to work away this yarn tail. I mean, I've got my needle on it anyway, and then we're ready for round 2. Round 2, a new color yarn on my hook with a slip knot, and for this round we're going to work a back post half double crochet on every stitch. I'm going to start with a standing back post half double. So yarn over and hold on to this loop with your finger, and then on any stitch, doesn't matter which one, I'm just going to open it up, and then you see there's the post. So from the back around the post of the stitch, come out the others to the back, grab your yarn and bring everything around and back to where you currently are. Still got my finger on the loops, yarn over and take all 3 of them off, and that's a standing back post half double. Now all other stitches just a back post half double. So yarn over to the next stitch, again pulling it open, so you're going to insert your hook around the next stitch, bring it back and complete the stitch. You insert your hook around every stitch. Be sure not to accidentally skip one. So you're going to insert your hook into the gap where you finish. You see this is, I've now worked 3 of them. So you want to make sure you have one of those little dashes around every stitch, then you know you've worked every one. So go all the way around, then you'll have 20 back post half doubles because you have 20 stitches at this point. And then I'll just show you how to close this round on that standing stitch. So continue the back post half double on every stitch. Almost round, I have a few more stitches to do. I want to show you the next one because here's the chain 2. Now the next stitch is just still a normal stitch, so I'm going to work around that stitch, back post half double. Then the next stitch here is the chain 2 starting stitch and the stitch next to it with the invisible join on top. So to work the back post double here, around both of them together, so the chain 2 you're just going to ignore, so this entire thing here is one stitch. So around that entire stitch as though it's one. And then I've still got 2 more, so I'm going to work those 2. And then I'm finished with the round. I've got 20 back post half doubles and close on the first stitch with a slip stitch. To find this stitch, you just pull your yarn tail. You see there's the slip knot, and then just next to it there, that's the stitch we're going for. So I'm just going to insert my hook there, so next to the slip knot, and a standing half double is a little tricky because the stitch kind of closes in on itself. So there are 3 little loops underneath the first 2 on top of the third one. So you see here there are two loops on my hook, and then just here below there's 1 more loop, and that's the entire gap you want to be into. And then take your yarn tail, your working yarn, and then just complete the slip stitch. And I like to work these just a little tight, that they're nice and neat. And I make sure that this knot, this slip knot, is to the back of my work. Then it falls away. Then you don't see it at all. Complete the slip stitch. And you see here's the knot now falling to the back. You can cut your yarn and fasten off for round 3. So just open this up, and then we're ready for round 3. Round 3, I'm going to slip knot on my hook again. In this round we're going to be working popcorns. Now we start in any stitch, doesn't matter where you start. So here are the stitches. You see they're rolled to the back. So make sure that you grab the correct stitch. That's the stitch there. So you see how it's rolled to the back. So nothing here. This is the yarn over that you see there. So roll your work forward. You can see, there's the stitch. Now, in any stitch, doesn't matter where you start. I'm going to start with a standing popcorn. and that means we start with a double crochet because the popcorn is made out of 5 doubles. So I'm going to yarn over and hold on to that loop, and then in any stitch insert your hook and work the first double. And this is the first of 5 because the popcorn has 5 doubles, so that's 1, and in the same stitch work 4 more doubles. 2, 3, 4, and 5. There you go, so 5 doubles in the one stitch. Then open up your loop and take it off your hook. I like to just pop this yarn over my finger, then nothing happens to it. Then come back to the first double. See, there's the slip knot. Then just next to it insert your hook in that first stitch. Pick up your working yarn again and pull that loop tight. Now we're going to pull this loop through the first stitch. So this is just as though you're making a slip stitch. And chain 1. And this is the entire, this is a popcorn, so 5 doubles, pull in that loop through and chain 1. Now we're going to do a chain 6. So this is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means here in total you've got 7 chains. So you've got 6 from chains and then 1 more chain from the popcorn. So there's 7 here in total. So do remember that chain from the popcorn. So chain 6. Skipping 3 stitches, we then work another popcorn. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3 stitches and come to the next stitch there and work a popcorn, and that's going to be 5 doubles again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I just need a bit more yarn. 4, and then this one here is 5. Yeah, so 5 doubles in that one stitch. And now again open up the loop, come to the first stitch, pick up the working yarn, pull through and chain 1. That's a popcorn again. And now you're at the same point we were when we started. So now again a chain 6, and this is the repeat. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So popcorn, chain 6, skip 3 stitches and then work another popcorn. So 1, 2, 3, skip and then work a popcorn. And this here is then the first double of the next popcorn. And like this you're going to go all the way around. So I've got 2 done already. I've started with a third one. Continue like this, so a popcorn, chain 6, but remember you're actually working 7 chains because there's 1 chain that goes with the popcorn. And skipping 3 stitches, go all the way around. Then I'll just show you where to close here on this first standing popcorn. For now, continue all the way around. So I'm all the way around. I've got all 5 popcorns, and this is my last chain 6. 3 stitches left. I'm going to skip and then come to the first popcorn and close on there. And it's easiest if you grab your starting tail and then just pull on this. Then you'll see this slip knot. So there's the little slip knot that we started with, and then that little gap you see there, there's where you want to close. I'm just going to insert my hook next to the slip knot and close on there with a slip stitch. And pull, and I like to work these a little tighter. There we go. Cut your yarn, fasten off, and then we're ready for the next round. What you'll notice here is that these chains pull really back. Your popcorns, they look kind of, they almost disappear here. They really fall to the back. Don't worry about this. As we can grow, this will kind of be pushing this forward. So don't worry about it for now. It's a little wonky, but this will sort itself out. Round 4, new color yarn on my hook. Actually, it's the same color as you use for round 2. we're going to be working front post single crochets around the popcorns, and in between you're going to come back to round 2 and work trebles in there. Quite a lot happening. I'll take you through this step by step. Now any popcorn, doesn't matter where you start. I'm going to take this one, and we start here with a standing front post single crochet. So I've got a yarn on my hook, and then scoop the popcorn to work this front post. So that practical means like this. So kind of scooping the popcorn, grab your yarn and work a single crochet front post, kind of pinching the popcorn together. We're now going to come down and work into the stitches of round 4, and it's important that the chain space, that this is to the back, that we're going to be working in front of this chain space into the stitches of round 2, and actually only into the center one of the 3. So in the center stitch, everything we're going to be working in there is 2 trebles, chain 4, slip stitch, chain 4, 2 trebles. Okay. I'll show that to you step by step. So yarn over twice for a treble, then come to the second stitch, insert your hook, and like I said, now it's important to really make sure that this chain is to the back. You don't want to work over that chain. So I'll just take that one again and make sure that your chain space really is to the back, and work the treble. So that's 1, 2, 3 times yarn overs. Again, twice, another treble in the same stitch. There you go. We're now going to work a chain 4, and this actually also counts as a treble. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chain. Come down to this same stitch, and in here work a slip stitch. So into this same stitch, work a slip stitch. That kind of means you're pulling this chain 4 down. Going to pull it down. So this chain 4 is a treble. It's the equivalent of a treble. Chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. This again counts as a treble, and now it's a treble up. And again in the same stitch, 2 more trebles. So yarn over twice. So this is a very full stitch. There's a lot in that one position, and that's why we don't work the other 2. We leave them open so that there's room for these stitches to fall. And 2 trebles. There we go. Now come to the next popcorn, which is here, and kind of scoop this popcorn to work a front post single around the popcorn. There you go. And this front post single is the same as the front post single we just started with over there. So this is the entire repeat. These stitches here in the center and the front post single. I'll show you the repeats again, and then you can do 3 more on your own. Now the next stitch here is the stitch that contains the slip stitch from round 2. That's why I'm showing this to you. You see, here's the slip stitch, there's a stitch, here's the slip stitch, and there's one. So we're going to be working in that stitch that contains the slip stitch already. So we're just going to be working over it a little bit, so covering it, then you don't see anything. So yarn over twice, into that stitch that has the slip stitch, kind of working over that slip stitch. And this is the first treble. That's 1. And just snag my hook, there we go. 2 trebles, chain 4, come down. I'm just going to push this to the side a bit to make sure I have enough room. Another slip stitch. So 2 trebles and a slip stitch. 2 trebles, chain 4 and a slip stitch, and again chain 4. So this is completely symmetrical around the slip stitch. And then 2 more trebles in the same stitch, and this is very, very full. I realize that. So you're going to have to squeeze them all in there. and then come to the popcorn again and work a front post single, so that means scooping that popcorn and complete the stitch. And all of this time make sure this chain space here is to the back. Then now we've done this twice, going to do 3 more times and close on your first stitch, and this is the standing single crochet front post. Close on that stitch with a slip stitch, and important, leave your yarn attached for the next round. Round 5. This round we're going to be working into the stitches from the previous round, and we're going to be working into the chain spaces here that we have to the back. And when we work into those chain spaces, I'll be telling you to just push your stitches to the side so that you can kind of hide them behind the petals that you have here to the front. And I'll show you what I mean by that when we get there. And to start with a chain 3. This is the first double crochet. This counts as a double. So 1, 2, 3. This counts as a double crochet. Now we're going to start the repeat. It's a double crochet 3 together over the next 3 stitches, and those are the 2 trebles here and the chain 4 that also counts as a treble, remember? So these 3 stitches, so a double crochet 3 together. So that means yarn over, come to the first stitch, insert, take off 2 loops, then come to the next stitch, insert, take off 2 loops. Now you've got 2 loops on your hook, and then the third one we're going to take here in the chain 4. And for that we're just kind of going to go to the top loop, so there, that top loop in there. So if I just take my needle here, you see here are the chains in there. Going to insert your hook, so that top of the chain 4. So yarn over, and you might have to just help that a little bit. And I actually want to get 2 loops on my hook, because then it's just a bit more secure. And now I've split that second loop, and there we go. So take off 2 loops. Now I've got 4 loops on your hook. Take them all off in one go. So that was a double crochet 3 together over both the trebles and the chain space. We're now going to do a chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and flip your work over and come into the chain space that's here to the back. So in that chain space, work a slip stitch and kind of work this as far to the right as possible. If you're left-handed, this will be to the left. So in that chain space, work a slip stitch. Chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now work another slip stitch into this same space. So same chain space, going to work another slip stitch. And I'm going to try and work this one as far to the right as possible, because what we're doing is we're actually crossing over from one petal to the next, and we're doing that behind our work, so hiding our stitches. So work a slip stitch in that same space and push this one a little as far to the left as you can, and then this one as far to the right as you can. And if you're left-handed, that will of course be the other way around. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're back up again. If I just hold my work like this, you can see now we're back up again, and we're at the next flower petal. And we're going to do the same as we did on this side. On this side, you have 3 stitches, just a chain 4 and the 2 trebles, and over those 3 stitches, work a double crochet 3 together. So yarn over, but now the first one is of course the chain 4, because that's the first one here. So I'm just going to insert my hook in there, in the top of the chain 4. Take off 2 loops. Come to the second stitch, that's a treble, and you'll kind of see it opening up a little weirdly. So there's the loop. And then the third one here is in the second treble. There we go. So you've got 4 loops on your hook. Take them all off in one go. And then the last stitch of the repeat is a double crochet here in the center on the front post single. So in that center stitch gets a double crochet. And then this double is in essence the same as the chain 3 double there that we started with. And this you're going to repeat all the way around. I'll show you the repeat once more, and then you can do the others without me. So over the next 3 stitches, double crochet 3 together. So yarn over in the first stitch, the first treble, pick up a loop, take 2 off, yarn over in the second treble, insert your hook, take 2 off, and then here's the chain 4. So in the top of that chain 4, yarn over, insert your hook, pick up a loop, take off 2, 4 loops on your hook, take them all off in one go. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, come down to the back here, so flip your work over and there that chain space to the back, make a slip stitch in there. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, make another slip stitch in the same space, so this, and then push these 2 slip stitches as far to the edges as you can, because these chains here you want to hide them behind your work, so that's why we're going to push them to the side. And then chain 4 to come back up again, 2, 3, 4, to come back the other side, so we're going down, across and up. That's what we're doing. And now a double crochet 3 together on the next flower petal. I've got something in my yarn here, this little knot. I'm just going to cut that out. I might actually be able to hide it in the 3 together stitch. I'm not worried about this. This will be fine, no stress. In the next 3 stitches, a double crochet 3 together. So yarn over. The first one is of course on the treble. Just in the chain space, I mean. This is the first one. Yarn over and come to the second. Okay. And then yarn over and come to the third. You can see I'm just popping that little knot to the back. No stress. And take them all off. So that little knot is nicely hidden behind my work. Next stitch is the single crochet here in the middle, gets a double, so double on that center stitch. There we go. And that's it. That was the second repeat. So you're seeing how you're filling out the flower petals. So next one, then go down. You see here these stitches, these slip stitches, make sure that you push them as far out as you can, so you can really hide these chains to the back of your work, that you don't see them from the front. So continue like this, go all the way around, and when you get to the starting position, your starting position here, you have the chain 3. Here's your chain 3, close on top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch, and you can also fasten off. Round 6, this is what your flower looks like at the moment. I'm going to continue in the same color, but we're going to start at a new position, so that's why I've got a slip knot on my hook, and we're going to work a double crochet 3 together over the 3 stitches that form the top of the petal at the moment. So this is a double crochet 3 together, a double crochet and a double crochet 3 together. Over those 3 we're going to work a double 3 together. Now the first one is a standing stitch, which means I yarn over, hold on to that loop, and then in the first of these 3 stitches, so if you look here, you see there, so here's the chain space. You don't want the chain space. Come into the first stitch, there, take off a loop, yarn over and come to the center stitch, that's the double, make up a loop, take off 2, then yarn over and come to the last stitch, that's the double crochet 3 together here, and grab both loops, take off 2, and now you have 4 loops on your hook, take them all off in one go. There we go. And that's a double crochet 3 together. Chain 15, and that will bring us to the next petal. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So quite a chain, because we need to bridge a bit of a gap here. And now we're going to do exactly what we just did. So over the 3 stitches here, a double crochet 3 together. So yarn over to the first stitch, yarn over, and the second one, which is the double crochet here, and yarn over for the third one. There we go. And take them all off. And repeat. So chain 15, double 3 together on the next petal. Chain 15, go all the way around, and when you're back to your starting position, close there with a slip stitch, and you can also fasten off. Round 7, new color yarn on my hook. This is what you have now. I've got the flower petals and these long chains. I'm going to be working into the chains and between the petals in this round. Start by working a front post single, so it's a standing front post single will be the first one, around any one of these tips, these double crochet 3 togethers. Now front post single means we're going to scoop from the front like that, and then kind of pinching it together, work a front post single around that stitch. Now we're going to start the repeat. The chain space, work 9 single crochets in the chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. I believe these are 9. Let me just count them. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you see only 8, so I need 9. 9. There we go. 9 single crochets. Now we filled about half of this chain. That's correct. We're going to come back and work 9 more later on. But first, I'm going to do a chain 7, come down with a slip stitch, and then a chain 7 to come back up. First chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chain 7, and we're going to fold this chain down, and we're going to work into here. Let me just show you where. You've got here the stitch that in round 2 that you worked all of these stitches into. Remember, it's and right in the middle there's a slip stitch. So into this stitch of round 7, it's got a bit of a natural gap there because there were quite a few stitches in there. Going to work a slip stitch through there. And what's important is when you work this slip stitch, because you've got here all these chains to the back, you want to stay in front of all these chains and also in front of the chain 7 that you're, or this chain 15 that we're working into. So all the chains need to be to the back. So only like my needle is now, that's how you're going to work a slip stitch. Let me show you. Let me just grab this loop back again. So a slip stitch into this stitch here from round 2. In that stitch, insert your hook, and be sure you're in front of everything. So this loops to the back, that loop, chain 15, everything. Only here make 1 slip stitch. There you go. And now chain 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then that will bring you back up again. Now come to the chain space here, which you were just working into, so the same chain space, and work 9 more single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'll just show you in a moment, 7, 8, 9. There we go. So 9 single crochets in this chain space. I'm just going to open up the loop a little bit and then show you here. Is just spread these out a little bit, that they're nice and even. And what you'll also notice is that your single crochets tend to curl inwards. Don't worry about this. When we work the next round, it'll kind of fold them to the top, and then these 2 chains will line up nicely. So at this moment it still looks a little wonky, it curls inwards, but the next round will fix that, so don't worry about that. So you've got 9 single crochets in the space, chain 7, come down, chain 7, come back up, and work 9 more singles in the chain space. And if you look here to the back, you can see this gap here, you're missing that. You should not work into that space, then everything gets too connected. So only through the stitch here. 1 more stitch to do for the repeat, and then you do all of this 4 more times, and that's a front post single crochet around the flower tip here. There we go. So a front post single crochet around that. So in this stitch it's exactly the same as the stitch we started with. So all of this repeat 4 more times. Close on that first standing single crochet with the slip stitch. Leave your yarn attached for the next round. So 9 singles, this chain 7 up and down, 9 more singles, front post single all the way around. Round 8, we're going to continue with the same color. Going to work 2 doubles in the stitch where we're currently in. That means we're going to start with the chain 3, that's our first double crochet. And then in the same stitch, so this is the front post single where you're in that same stitch, just next to it, pop another double crochet. And my stitch is a little tight here. There we go. A second double crochet in there, so 2 doubles in the same stitch. We continue, and on the next 9 singles work a double crochet on every stitch. So these are the 9 that are before the chain 7 when we came down, so double crochet on each of those. Just 2, 3 until you have 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then the last one here, number 9. Let me just show you that. See, here's the chain space. So just pull this kind of to the side here. There you see that little gap there, that's stitch number 9. So that chain space kind of pulls the stitch down, and if you just bring it up, then you see stitch number 9. We're now going to skip both of these chain spaces and continue in the stitches on the other side. And that means exactly doing the same on this side as we did on that. And that first single crochet can again be hard to see because kind of the chain pulls it down, so pull it up. And you see, oh wait, there's the first single, there it is. So that first single can be hard to miss. So this is then the first one, and this is again the first of 9. So that's 1, and the other ones are hopefully okay. 2. You see, and this whole process brings your stitches back up because that chain space rolls your stitches down, but these double crochets, they bring your stitches back up. And so you work 1 double on every stitch for 9 stitches. And then that will bring you to the front post single that's around the flower petal. This is number 9. Here we go. Then the next stitch is the front post stitch that's around the flower petal. That stitch gets 2 doubles. So 1 and 2. And now you're at the same point we were when we started. So go all the way around, work 9 doubles, and then skipping those stitches, again 9 doubles, and then 2 in the front post stitch till you're all the way around. And then we're going to close with an invisible join, and I'll just show you that once more. Gone all the way around. Last thing to do here is the invisible join. Again, cut your yarn and open up your loop by pulling your yarn through. So this is in essence as though you would fasten off. Thread the yarn on your needle, and now we're again going to work a loop over the first stitch work. So here's the chain 3, that's our first stitch. So we come to the second stitch, insert your needle through the second stitch as though you're going to crochet in it. Pull through, and then come back to the last stitch worked, and insert your needle from top to bottom into the stitch. And if I go from here just a little bit to the back, and then when you're in the back, just grab 1 or 2 loops here to just secure it a little bit better. I'm going to do it like that. And then you have these 2 loops again. Pull them until they are the same size as the stitches to the left and to the right. There we go. And then they fall nicely on top of the chain 3 here. And that's it. You can work away these yarn tails, and then you're ready for the next round. Round 9, new color on my hook, and this round we're going to work a back post single crochet on every stitch. So it doesn't matter where you start. I'm just going to start here and work a back post single crochet. The first one is a standing back post, and this round it's a slow round. These back post stitches, they do take time. I work a back post single crochet on every stitch. And if this is the first mandala you're making, then leave your yarn attached because you're going to be attaching it to the ring. And if this is mandala 2 or 3 that you're making, then you can fasten off at the end of round 9. So for the medium and the large mandalas you can fasten off, but for the small mandala you need this color to attach it to the ring. So then leave it attached for the next round, because I'm going to show you that also. But first I'll show you what the other mandalas look like also. But for now, a back post single crochet, just 1 on every stitch, and go all the way around. Close on your first stitch with a slip stitch. So on this first stitch, close there with a slip stitch, leave attached for the small mandala, and fasten off for the medium and the large. When you've completed all those back post stitches on the first mandala, you need to make 2 more, and those are the ones you see here. And you'll notice they're a bit wobbly, wonky, but when we put them in the ring, this will all straighten out and flatten out. And then these are the other 2 mandalas in the same colorway with different color placement, and this will become the small and the medium and the large mandalas, I should say. So make 2 more small mandalas, and then you can fasten off after you've done those back post stitches on these, because we're going to grow it further on there in parts 2 and 3, of course, for the large one also. And then I'd like to show you how to connect your first mandala, your small mandala, to the ring. To finish the small mandala, we're going to attach it to the first ring, and this is a ring of 15 centimeters. And your mandala itself should be at this point give or take 13 centimeters. The idea is that it's about 10% smaller than the ring, because we're going to slightly stretch it up to get it to fit nice and snug into the and really open up this pattern. So you want it to be slightly smaller than the ring, about 10%. So mine is 13 centimeters on a 15 centimeter ring. Now to join this to the ring, chain 1. This is not a stitch, it's just to get you to the correct working height. And I'm just going to zoom in a little further so that you can really see what I'm doing on attaching this ring. Going to work a single crochet 2 together in the current stitch, the next stitch, and the ring. Now what do we do? So we're currently here in this stitch with a slip stitch. So I'm inserting my hook into that stitch where I'm currently at, and because there's a slip stitch there, might be a little snug. So into the stitch, then go with your hook underneath the ring and the yarn is over the ring, and pick up the yarn from the back and bring it forward. Now come to the next stitch, insert your hook into that stitch, go underneath the ring. Your yarn is already here to the back, so grab that yarn and bring it forward. You now have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and take them all off. And that was a single crochet 2 together, worked over the current stitch and the next stitch and the ring. This idea we're going to repeat all the way around, so I'll show you again. In the current stitch, so that's the stitch where we just finished, so you're going to, in that same position, insert your hook, go underneath the ring, the yarn is from the top, grab your yarn, bring it forward. Come to the next stitch, go underneath the ring, pick up the yarn from the back, bring it forward and take it off and pull through. And it's important to always take the stitch where you finished as your first yarn over. The reason is that this will result in just more loops covering the ring. So that's why we're doing it this way, as opposed to just working single crochets all the way around, which is of course an option. It's definitely an option. But by doing this, what's happening is that you're going to have more yarn overs covering the ring, so you're going to be hiding the ring better. So that's the idea. So in the current stitch and the next stitch and then take them off. And this is a slow process, so you're going to have to take your time on working these stitches. So I'm going to make a jump in the video and then I'll be all the way around, and then I'll just show you the closing, because I'm going to close this with an invisible join. So go all the way around. When you're further through, you'll have to start stretching the mandala and just giving it, easing these stitches around the ring as it stretches up. But continue like this, a single crochet 2 together in the current stitch, the next stitch and the ring. And when you're here, then I'll see you back. Almost all the way around. I have a few stitches left. See, I've got one unworked stitch there. So current stitch and the next stitch, that's still unworked. So that means here, and then also the next one, and take them off. And the last stitch will be both of them will be worked already, because you've got here this stitch which already has a loop, of course, and the next stitch, which is the stitch where we started. So there's that slip stitch in there. So both of these already have a stitch. So that's one. And then here I'm just going to eyeball where I put it, because it can be a little tricky to get there in there. There. And take off. And that was the last stitch. It looks a little messy here, but don't worry, we're going to fix that. Cut your yarn and open up this loop. I'm going to thread the yarn on my needle, and to make this look more pretty, I'm just going to come into you can either take this stitch or the next stitch. It really doesn't matter because the idea is we're going to pull this tight anyway. So I'm actually going to take that stitch. I'm going to work over this one. And then pull this a little tight, closing that stitch, and then come back into the last stitch worked in there. And then just push that a little to the back and grab a loop or two at the back also. That'll just help to secure this yarn. And pull this a little tight, closing these stitches and closing this gap. You can see how pretty it now looks. So I'm just going to work away this yarn tail and the one that's to the back here. I do that if I just turn it around by just working into the stitches here that are just under the ring. I kind of tend to hide it there. I'm just going to work away these yarn tails and then we're finished. And when you finish your first mandala, this is what it looks like, all connected to the ring and ready to go. Now this is the first set, of course, 3. So this is my finished one for part 1, and then you need to make 2 more, which we'll continue with in part 2 next time. So that brings us to the end of this instruction video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon for part 2.